Welcome to For the Love of Self podcast. My name is Heather Murphy. I am an embodiment coach and trauma-informed breathwork facilitator. It is my mission to help you love yourself deeply. If you are desiring unbreakable confidence and are ready to embody your authentically expressed next level self, where you are creating a life with heart-opening relationships, finances, and success, then get ready for your dose of self-love. Hello, everyone. Welcome to For the Love of Self podcast. Today, I'm excited to bring on another lovely guest. And our guest today is Rosalia. She is out in Miami today, although it's probably about 4 o'clock for you now, right? Yes. And I'm excited I was going to say do lunch with you, but it's not really lunchtime for you anymore. So I'm excited to have you on. We've been trying to connect, and your company is called Quantum Alchemist. And I'm really intrigued by this on so many levels because I feel like there's a depth of information that we could probably get into, but we're just going to go with the flow. And I'd love for you to just start by saying hi, hello. Who are you? Where are you at? We said Miami already, but what do you bring into the world today?
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, it's an honor to be here. And thank you for allowing me the space to share a little bit about myself and my journey, which I feel that if most of us connect with our soul, our voice, and start sharing it with each other without judging, there's a lot to learn from each other. Actually, we're all teachers and students of each other. So if instead of focusing so much on separation, maybe we could be more open to learning from one another. I think that would be very beautiful. In that sense, I am in Miami. I was originally born and raised in Cuba. I've been in Miami for 25 years now.
Mm.
And I'm a nurse practitioner. I've been a nurse practitioner for over 10 years. There was a point in my career in 2018 where I got to the peak of my career, the peak of my salary, and I was very dissatisfied with everything. I had attained everything material. And so I come from a very poor family. Like we literally don't have anything, just barely enough to eat. And then so of course naturally my focus was to, make something out of myself and make sure my family was comfortable. Um but then I found out, that wasn't really fulfilling me. Whether it was spiritually or I don't know, personally I just couldn't find that fill that void. And I got into a really really deep depression, and to the point where I was suicidal. I just couldn't even find purpose in the morning. I was like, this doesn't make any sense, kind of like sometimes when you lose the identity that you thought, whoever you thought you were, right? So I started going outside for answers, getting my hands on anything I could, all sorts of different religions, um, energy work, breath work, somatics, learning to regulate my nervous system, plant medicine, you name it, I've probably tried it. um, and
Yeah.
I honor all of those paths. I think they each have taught me something beautiful, and is part of who I am today, which I'm still learning. I'm still evolving. I'm still on the path. I haven't achieved anything um other than more love and more compassion for myself and others. I think that
Mhm.
that's something big that I did not have before. I was very materialistic and ego driven, and not quite a good balance there. Um, and in 2022, I had a near death experience, and
Mm.
that was it for me. That really shifted, just the way I see life, why we're here, just a different lens of seeing this perceived reality or this limited reality that we perceive with our five senses. There's so much more that we're not aware of, or even if it comes into our awareness, it's a fractal or a percentage of the great mystery. It's like so vast, it's infinite. It's very hard to in this little speck or level of consciousness to kind of comprehend the entire plan, right? The entire universe.
Mm.
So after that, I pretty much started listening to my soul, to my, to my calling, to what really, I call it food for the soul. Doing, that's when I started my soul aligned business, if you want to, I guess, call it that. And a lot of the stuff I share there has been all the stuff that I have been through, all the stuff that have served me, all the tools, all the practices, everything I've learned from a compile of everything, right? That I have learned to put it to service, because it doesn't make any sense um not to share it.
Mhm.
The whole purpose for me, at least, is being of service for the time I'm here. Um and just learning along with everybody else. I mean, it's surviving one
Yeah.
day at a time. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And wow, I am curious. Like, I just wrote down a few questions
Sure.
here.
Go for it.
Thank you so much for sharing about your mental health struggle with that too, because I think a lot of people can relate to, especially in regards to career. Because I think I keep, especially having kids, I just think 18-year-olds are too young to decide what they're gonna be for the rest of their lives. And I think a lot of people end up actually having career changes
Yeah.
about midlife. And we call it the midlife crisis, which actually isn't a real thing. And most of the time, it's just some sort of misalignment. So I'd love to ask you your opinions on that. Like, and if you don't feel comfortable answering, like in regards to mental health struggles,
Oh no,
um,
I'm super
yeah,
comfortable with that. It's
okay,
a real. Our
yeah,
country is going through one of the biggest mental health epidemics that we've
yeah,
ever been through, as well as addiction. So absolutely, I'm all for it.
yeah. I was curious if you feel like a lot of the times with mental health, and it can't be narrowed down to one, but like sometimes it just feels like a soul misalignment. And I'm curious if you like agree with that or have any further thoughts on that.
I believe, of course, mental health is such a big spectrum. And speaking
Hmm.
from personal experience, um, but there's definitely what I call, or what I perceive to be, a disconnection with the divine, whatever the divine is for you. The
Yeah.
source, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, like something something bigger than ourselves, to a certain extent, or a higher expression of ourselves. Um, it's kind of like you almost feel like unplugged, or from that source. Like, I feel it helps a lot. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. It helps a lot
Yeah.
to question who we are, aside from the programming that we've been imprinted, from what
Mm-hmm.
we learned from our parents, from what we learned from society and school. um just question everything, I would say. And then the other thing would be, um whatever my answers are would be completely different. So
Yeah.
whatever is aligned with my soul, whatever my soul blueprint and plan, and trials and tribulations that I've picked to learn certain lessons, may be completely different than yours, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's, in my opinion, all of it somehow is, the chaos has an order, even though it may
Mm.
not seem that way at all, at least from my experience. And every time any emotion or anything is happening, it's a teacher. So if we look at it as a teacher, as, I don't want to say a red flag, because I don't see them as bad per se. They're there to teach us something, and a lot of the time is some sort of misalignment, right? You're
Yeah.
not happy in the job that you are, in the relationship that you have, and something that really took a really long time for me to accept responsibility on, was to understand that, to change that stuff I wasn't happy about, I wanted to change it exterior. I wanted to change the other person. I wanted to change the job. I wanted to. And the moment I went inside, I said, okay, so this is all about me. So all this is for me to do the work, my inner work. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the other person. And I really think that's where a lot of shifts started to happen,
Yeah.
for me. Like, just it just rippled out into the people that were being called into from outside, the possibilities that open up, even my level of awareness. Like, when opportunity is always there and you just never saw it. Like, if you buy a car and you never saw that car before and it was always there, you just never pay attention to it. Um, so I've seen that over and over with so many different things. I'm like, how could I not? Because I never thought that was possible. I never even perceived that. It's like I was blinded at certain things. Um, so mental health, I think we have to do a lot of debunking, delayering, of peeling the onion as to not identifying so much if you're in schizophrenic, bipolar, all these tags, right? Because you're so
Yeah.
much more than that. You are experiencing that. Maybe you're experiencing sadness, grief. Maybe you're having an episode. Maybe you're having a crisis. And by the way, if anybody's listening and you need help, please reach out to people, reach out for help. You're not alone. Because sometimes,
Yeah.
even myself, when I was like in that darkness, you really feel like you don't have options. But there are options. So please, please reach out. There's so many people that have been where you are and they've made it out. Please don't stay with that in your heart. Reach out. Okay. There's a lot of help and there's a lot of resources. If you're going through that, reach out to somebody, please.
Yeah, I was
Um,
just going to share real quick. I'll make sure I put the suicide hotline down in the show notes so that people have that. I cannot it should be, I think it's 811. Nope, not 811. Anyway, there's a really easy number, but I'll put it down in the show notes for people. So people have that. But please continue.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of the times, whether you're having anxiety, a panic attack, or any other hallucination, whatever you're going through, um,
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of the times we tend to identify ourselves with that event or that
Yeah.
emotion, or and just spiral down that rabbit hole. Um, and it takes a lot of inner work to kind of become the observer of that and be like, okay, this is happening to me. What tools do I have? Sorry, what tools do I have to regulate my nervous system? Who can I call when I'm, spiraling out? Like, have some sort of plan or protocol in place that can help you. Whether it's a mantra, maybe it's a prayer, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's a song, um, whatever makes you feel safe, grounded, supported. Maybe you have to hug your pet or kiss your kid. Maybe it's simple things like that where you're reminded, yeah, you are safe in this now moment. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, I could just speak so much about mental health. But pretty much just that, like, try not to identify fully with, with the situation, and have some sort of protocols in place that help you. Maybe it's a weighted blanket or a heated pad or some sort of massage or shaking or whatever it is for you that brings you back to the now. Because a lot of the times when we have anxiety, we're trying to solve all these hypothetical problems or problems that we have that have that time has not here yet. So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, how am I going to get out of debt, or how am I going to, you know, solve this relationship or whatever? Or how am I going to pay the rent on the first? What's not the first yet? Right. So it's just, what can we
Mm.
do today? Right this moment, I'm speaking to you about mental health. So a lot of before I was a multitasker, totally failed. I no longer do that. It may work for some people because we're all different, but it doesn't work for me. I feel like I'm living my life in slow motion. Like, I just turn the dial and I'm just like, one thing at a time, one day at a time. Maybe it'll take me a year to complete it, or maybe it'll take me two. That's okay. But my mental health is stable. I'm not in burned out. I am, have my morning routine. I have my whatever it is that works for you. So prioritize your mental health first, your habits, your thoughts, how you speak to yourself. I mean, I have changed the way I speak to myself. And therefore, my thoughts have shifted because I no longer, you know, of course, here and there you auto sabotage yourself with certain things, but it's not the constant program that is running. So just becoming aware of that, like what is the music playing in your head? What is it telling you? And just
Yeah.
start to question it.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for all of these tips and just sharing your personal experience with it. I know, like, for myself, I used to actually have a little list of things. Like, I would hold ice sometimes. Yeah, like you said, it's like whether it's petting your dog or any pet, whatever, weighted blanket, like literally writing it down, I think missed engage that prefrontal cortex or something, because I would just like have this list on a post-it note up in my kitchen so that it would remind me that when I would start to have like a depressive dip or something, that I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, like, I have these tools that sort of, like, help shock me out of this, like, that phase or something that I'm in." Um, and yeah, I'm really curious, you at some point, you said you realized you needed to go inward. What was sort of that thing that called you in, like, like, was there a modality, or, like, did something speak to you, or yeah.
Pain,
Oh, yeah. It's loud. Pain is loud.
pain.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
was literally screaming in pain.
Mm.
Um, it's like I know it's hard to imagine it, unless you've gone through it, but when you're going through that, finding no purpose at all, like you really feel that it's completely pointless because you don't have any other. It's all about changing our perception. But if you really don't have anyone to at least remind you, because we have all that information inside, but we forget, right? And maybe we weren't raised in that environment or that nurture or that, you know, to those possibilities. So in the end, if that's not the case, it was not the case for me, then it is up to us to a certain extent to take some responsibility. Like, okay, you know, I'm not being a good wife, or I'm not being a good mother, and I'm being an asshole. I just kind of have to start looking at myself and see what I can do, you know? Um, and I did get to a point where I had a lot of discussions with God in regards to acceptance and taking action. Um, so
Mm.
at this point where I am, and of course it's gonna probably change next week or the week after that, or you know, I'm constantly evolving and changing and just looking at different perspectives. But one of the hardest things was for me to accept the will of God, or whatever you want to call a higher power, because I just wasn't having it. I wanted things yesterday. Didn't want what I was experiencing. So what I found that was that when I was going against God's will or against what is in this now moment, I was crumbling mentally, emotionally, physically. It's like swimming in an upstream. It's debilitating. So what I started doing was like, okay, this is what it is, and I want to change it at some point. I have my clear vision where I would like to go. Because that also motivates us, right? You don't want to be in a deep depression where you don't even know, right? So
Mhm.
having goals is also good. But there is a balance, a delicate balance between taking aligned action with whatever fulfills your soul and doing the best that you can that day. Today, I'm sick. There's nothing else I can do except do this podcast. I can't send an email. I don't want to talk to anyone else on the phone. I don't want to have any sales meeting. I don't want to do anything else except have this conversation. And that is it. And after this, I'm not going to do anything else.
Mhm.
That's the best I can do today, where I am in the situation that I am. Do I hope to change it? Do I hope that my situation would improve at some point? Absolutely. And I'm hopeful and I trust and I have faith. But I do the best I can with the best aligned action I believe I can take today. But I'm
Mm.
no longer fighting against what is. Like I know
Yeah.
God has me here where God needs me for a reason. Maybe I don't have the entire plan. I don't know exactly how. Maybe someone's going to listen to this podcast and we're going to save their life and we don't even know about it. And this is where God
Yeah.
needed us to be.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. That gave me chills.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
just finding balance, I think, between that action, that faith, that, it's, yeah,
Yeah. I love the way you describe that. It's something that I like talking about too, because it's like an aligned action thing where, like, to be in this world, it's not just about do, like probably how it was for you in your career, right? Like being a
yeah,
nurse practitioner is no easy job, and it's long
yeah,
hours, and it's admirable, and it's also probably really hard on the body and mental health and all these things,
yeah,
and that it's helping the world in many ways, but also just being, like, shining our light, sharing our stories, like you said before earlier, is something that we say might help somebody. We don't know it, and that's okay, but it's about who we be in the world.
yes, I agree.
So,
Love that.
yeah, love that too. Um, yeah, so I wrote down that you are a breathwork facilitator, and I would love if you could share. Actually, I'm curious, like, because I feel like breathwork helps with physical pain so much too.
Yeah,
Um, so I'm curious, like, how that has helped you, with
yeah.
emotional and physical health, and what kind of breathwork do you do?
Well, I'm certified over like 15 different modalities.
Oh,
But
cool.
that's not what's important. What's important pretty much would be to give just a little tips. You have your nervous system. Basically, for this purpose, we're going to split it into two. You have your autonomic nervous system, and then we have like our fight or flight, our parasympathetic, and our sympathetic, right? Parasympathetic, rest, digest, relax. Sympathetic, fight or flight. Okay. Pretty much when you're in fight or flight, you want to use and the breathwork practices pretty much can be spread, even though there's so many, into two categories: activating breath or relaxing breath, pretty much. Okay. And then the pace at which you do it can change any of those practices into activating or into relaxing breath. The most important thing to remember is taking deep inhales using your diaphragm, using your belly. So when you inhale, whether it's through your nose or through your mouth, and we're going to talk about that later, but on the inhale, you want to expand the belly and the belly will come out, taking a
Mhm.
deep inhale. On the exhale, you want to make the exhale longer, okay, whether it's through your nose or through your mouth. Making the exhale longer relaxes the parasympathetic, okay, relaxes the nervous system, okay. So if you want to do it at a faster pace, whether it's through the nose or through the mouth, fire breath or anything like that, kapalabhati, anything like that, any of those activating breath, typically you want to do those in the morning. But if your nervous system is regulated, if you're going through a trauma response, if you're not doing well mentally, you don't want to do any activating breath. You want to do relaxing breath. Some of the relaxing breath, it's the box breathing, triangle breathing. You could inhale to 4, exhale to 6, inhale to 4, exhale to 8, and so forth. You could do like a ladder. You could do Brahmari, the humming bee breath. Inhale through the nose and exhale humming like a bee. So that's going to activate your vagus nerve right here in the throat. Okay, it's going to
Mhm.
shake, it's going to activate. So pretty much you want to do anything that is relaxing. Another thing would be typically nose breathing. Usually, unless you're doing it really fast and unless you're doing activating breath, typically breathing through your nose should be more calming, more relaxing than breathing through the mouth. Okay. So, but I particularly like, you can inhale through the nose, deep inhale through the nose, and exhale kind of like pursed lip through the mouth, like this, and making the exhale really, 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 really long. So that helps me when I'm flying
Mm.
in an
Yes.
airplane. Yeah. So pretty much deep inhale, shorter inhale, longer exhales through the nose. If you want to try that, that's going to help you regulate your parasympathetic. Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing all that. I don't know if I told you, but I I did a pause trauma informed breathwork
Yeah, it is. Oh,
facilitating, and
cool.
it's it's like holotropic in some ways, but it's shorter. um, like much holotropic's so long. Um, and yeah, I love what you shared about what helped you on the airplane because I hate flying and want to cry every time. And I actually went on I had to do like 5 flights in a 2 week period. And on the last one I did,
Ouch.
I don't know why I did that to myself. We were just having fun traveling. Um, I'm always like, I want to travel. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I hate flying. So anyway, I did the humming one and that like, but I did it for like 2 hours. And I think I like healed my fear of flying because now I'm just like, I'm flying somewhere in a couple of weeks and I'm just like, we'll see how I do once I get there. But I
Very
feel
good.
like, yeah, I do feel like, yeah, these different breath patterns, like find the one that feels good for you if you're in a situation.
I was gonna say
Um,
play with it
yeah,
because
play with it.
play with it. There's some that are my favorite and that are usually not recommended. So play with it and find what works for you in different scenarios. Um,
Yeah.
sorry, one thing that helped me in regards to flying is not taking caffeine before flying.
Yeah, that's a good point. Dang. That's hard to do, but yes, good, good plan. It's funny, you bring up the nose breathing is better for like relaxing, mouth breathing is more activating, or can be. And I remember learning this and thinking like, like why would you want to activate yourself? And as I was like reading more about it, I was thinking about the idea of like being hypo aroused versus like hyper aroused. So like for somebody that might be struggling with depression, they might want that mouth breathing or something just to like, because I used to really struggle to get out of bed and I used to do different things, nothing somatic, but I used to make like a list of 3 things that would be like brush your teeth, eat breakfast, and put on clean underwear. Simple things that kind of like activated that, I think, prefrontal cortex again, like I had like having a checklist, I think helped me, but it wasn't until like the last 5 years that I learned somatics and was like, oh, like that would have really helped me to know. So like a mouth breathing type of breath work could help with that. It seems like.
Yeah. I can send you some stuff if you want, some cool activating breath for you to check out. Um, but usually it helps me in the morning, as long as I'm regulated, as
Mm,
long as like I'm in a good place, right? Like if I'm stressed out, I will not do any activating breath. Um, but if I'm relaxed, having just any regular day, I do wake up and I do 3 to 5 minutes of breath work and I do a mix of activate. I start with activating breath to kind of just wake me up. And then I go and have some more relaxing breath towards the end. And then I go into meditation.
I love that. Yeah, I've been doing a breath work practice. It's 3 to 5 minutes, and it's usually more relaxing because I'm in grad school right now. So I wake up every day with anxiety. And so I usually am trying to like down regulate and just be like, it's going to be fine. And so, yeah, I think, like you said, play with it, see what feels good for your body and what's serving you. So,
Yeah. What are you studying?
I'm doing expressive arts therapy, so I'll get my LMFT for California.
That is so
Um,
cool.
Yeah, it's a really fun program. And yeah, I think they really do their best to train us to be culturally minded, and just like social justice oriented and stuff. And, um, I think academia is problematic in itself, but I think that, they're doing their best to really help us get in there and be like open to the new modalities on the cutting edge as well as the problems with our system. I think having to use the DSM-5, as we were talking about earlier, where you might be diagnosed with any category of items, and you know I think that it's good to question to what degree your diagnosis is serving you, and I think that some people are like, I just want to know what's wrong, and that's fine too. And some people, it's like the stigma with it, is not furthering their own well-being. And it's good to know what's going on for medical reasons and whatnot. But Yeah, I think those are all things to think about as like a future therapist, is like, how does this affect the client to be diagnosed? And unfortunately, working in a system where you have to tell insurance what the diagnosis is. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, a really good point there. Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. So yeah. So I want to ask you on that note, actually, can you tell us about zebra healing, the zebra healing method?
Sure. Yeah. So I was actually sleeping one night. And my third eye opened. I started to see like sacred geometry and colors and just like all these things. I'm like, huh, cute, interesting. Because that's not something that surprises me. Um, so I just observed it for a while. And then all the information started kind of pouring in. Okay, you're going to be doing the zebra method and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wait, let me write this down. um, so it's taken a while to kind of develop. And it has developed throughout the years, basically, with my clients, really, because even though it came to me from my guides, like this is what you're going to be doing, this is what you're going to be sharing, etc. Um, really is not until you put it into practice with your clients and until you see the results. What's different from this method is that you go into your own subconscious mind and I get to learn from your soul. So don't tell you anything. I don't give you any advice. I don't tell you anything. Actually, you tell me everything of how you should fix whatever you're going through. And I also get to learn from you. So it's actually pretty fun.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. And
Yeah.
even just like talking about therapy, I feel like my philosophy on therapy is that, or coaching for that matter, actually, um, and actually working with people in general, it's like we don't need to be the authority on what's best for other people. Like, I love the idea of this method for that reason, that it's like we know, we have the wisdom, we know what we need, and it's just about uncovering the layers and the garbage to
Yeah.
get it out
My
of the way.
sales
So
methods are terrible. I literally have sales call where I'm like, you're gonna heal yourself. I don't I
you
don't
don't even
know.
need me.
You don't even need me. I don't know what you're gonna say or what you're gonna recommend to yourself. We're both gonna find out and we're both gonna learn from each other. I'm just gonna guide you.
Mm.
So I one of the things I do on the zebra method is I do certify you in Akashic Records. Because we
Ooh.
do also work with that. Like, I teach you how to open your records and close them and work with them and stuff like that. Just because it's easier. You could do it in meditation, you could do it in breath work, you could do it however, you could do it in writing.
Hmm.
But just working with your Akashic records, and we do it. We ask questions and we do different exercises with the Akashic records closed and with them open, so you could see the difference of the way that the information comes through, and you can kind of understand. You're like, oh, okay, I get it. I see the
Yeah.
difference. Between your own thoughts and what's coming it through for you. Yeah, it's really
Mm.
fun. Most of my most of my clients are my friends, really, because they're all of my clients are recommended by somebody else, pretty
Yeah.
much. Um,
I love
and
that.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just love what I do.
Mm.
I'm in awe every time. Like, oh my God, that is so cool. Let me also try that. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Can you tell myself and the audience a little bit more about Akashic Records? Because I don't fully understand. I mean, I've heard that word
Yeah.
around, I live in a very hippie community, so there's all kinds of like that stuff that, you'll hear. So I've heard the word, I just don't fully know what that means.
Yeah. So Akashic Records, everybody's going to teach it differently and everybody's going to have an understanding of it differently. My understanding of it is really just the Akasha is memory. That's it. It's the memory
Mm,
of your soul, pretty much.
okay.
So it's just accessing your own divine information from within. What makes it easier? A prayer makes it easier. So it was channeled and it was given to someone and it was shared. There was an Akashic Record school open, and that Mary Parker shared that, that prayer initially. But even you could be given your own prayer to open your Akashic Records as well.
Mm,
You could be
mm,
shown how to open your Akashic Records through your own personalized meditation. that it has nothing to do with the one I guide you. Maybe your inner child comes forward and tells you, no, that's not how you're going to open your records. You're going to do it like this. I'm like, oh, how
Oh,
cool. I haven't even seen that way of doing
yeah.
it. So, a lot of people are very rigid in regards to this is the only way to open the records. It has not been my experience working with my patients. Um, I think it's very tailored and unique to you. I do provide an opening prayer, a closing prayer, and I do provide many different ways of accessing your Akashic records through meditation. Okay.
Mm,
Because sometimes you access it through a library, sometimes you access it through different avenues, right? So
yeah.
everybody is different. And then I guide you because I love doing this. I do this every day. Go into the subconscious mind which to me, the subconscious mind really is just different dimensions within yourself. So,
Mm, yeah,
you're
right.
just, yeah, you're just exploring yourself, getting to know yourself at a deeper level. What I like is that you're exploring yourself, you're not exploring me. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of safety to that. And of course, we do have, a protection protocol, a clearing protocol, all that stuff, just to be even on the safer side, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's definitely different. It really is just memory. You're accessing like you know, a bigger consciousness within yourself.
And so does this apply to like life, like living other lives, like lifetime? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm sorry, I
Yep.
don't know why that came out.
Yeah. Yeah, you could
Um,
definitely access past lives,
past
parallel
lives. That's the word
lives.
I was looking for.
Yep, for sure.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
that's so
well,
interesting.
honestly, well, from my perspective, everything is happening at once. There's no linear, like how we see it, past, present, future. Kind of weird, but
Yes.
it's all simultaneous.
Yeah, right. When we look at quantum mechanics. Yes. Yeah, I feel that too with what you're saying. It's like it's all kind of one big blur, but yeah, I've had this thing where and maybe it's just in this lifetime, but like you said, it kind of doesn't matter. But yeah, I've just had this thing where I've always been like had a lot of anxiety around my family dying, which keeps me really present. When I'm with them, I really want to be with them because I know that, or I have not I know, but like literally, it's such a morbid thought. But like when I drop my daughter off, I'm just like, that could be the last time I see her. Something could happen, and it's dark. But it also, like I said, there's like a light to it because I just like kiss her a million times and I just tell her how lovable she is. And um, I try to
It's
have like a
beautiful.
really calm, yeah, yeah. But it's funny because I've always been like, do I have some like past life trauma where I
I
lost
was
my
gonna say,
entire
like,
family?
and in reality, when we, for example, have a lot of patients that they have a particular thing they want to work on, right? Let's say it
Mm,
was that fear or whatever, right? So we do access all timelines and we collapse them, right? So we do go into past, future, present, future, parallel lives, all that stuff. And we just see if there's anything, from any of those that it's important for you to know and for you to see. Um,
yeah,
I only do that because it helps, in my personal opinion. It helps you kind of that diagnosis, right? Like, oh, okay, I see this
yeah,
is from this past life. But in reality, all of the resources, in my opinion, is rather than escaping or looking at other timelines, to me is being here. And to me is being more
mm,
human. We're already a spiritual being having a human experience. So to me is more about the aspect of it.
mm,
Yeah, I look
yeah,
at it a little bit different. I spend a lot of time trying to be spiritual, and escaping. And now I'm just like immersed in all this. I don't want to use any bad words in all of it, right? I don't want
yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. You're
I
fine.
know. I'm all in now. I don't. I no
Yeah.
longer want a shortcut, or I don't want to. I understand all of it is just a teaching and a lesson for my soul and my path to evolution. So I'm not in the
Mm,
rush I was before, like trying to race that dangling carrot. And I'm
mm-hmm.
just living it one day at a time, and here right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love that. A book that really helped me with kind of everything that we're talking about here was Journey of Souls.
I read it.
And I forget the author's name. I'll put it in the show notes. But Yeah, that book really helps me because he does hypnotherapy. Yeah. He does hypnotherapy and he starts to discover like some of these clients are talking about past lives. Anyway, he does all this huge research on it. And as they're talking, they share so much wisdom. And I was just like, yeah, like it doesn't really matter what's happening in this lifetime because it's like not like you said, it's not just like this is the window, it's like there's your soul's like journey, it's like big picture wise. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. Well, the last question I have for you, and of course, if there's anything else you want to share, is would you love to share about your 10-year treaty that you beautifully wrote?
Oh, thank you so much for that. Thank you for bringing that to light. Yes,
Yeah.
I actually made a 10-year world peace treaty request, and I've actually sent it to the Senate. I've sent it to different places. It's in my book. And I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can to share it, to give light, to get signatures is on change.org. Um, it hits so close to home because I'm from Cuba and there's a lot of dictatorship, and I've lived it and I know how painful that is. Venezuela is going through it. Look at the war that's happening. Like, honestly, I think all of us as a humanity, it's the butterfly effect, right? If it flaps the wings in one side, we're gonna feel it in the other. Um,
Mm,
I just can't stress it enough. We need peace. I think everybody can, regardless of religion, of race, of sexual preference, or whatever it is, if we can agree on one thing, I hope it would be peace for
yeah.
us as a humanity. So yeah, I made that peace treaty, and I'm not gonna stop sharing it. I'm not gonna, whether it has the traction that I wanted it or not. I know God has a plan for that, and there's a reason why I was called to do that and put it out there. And at some point, it's gonna get to where it needs to get to, you know?
Mm,
So
mhm.
yes, if you all want to help us and support us, it's just a signature. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. It's on change.org. Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I just was looking at it again and I was like, I thought I signed this. So I just signed it right before our call.
Thank you.
And yeah, of course. Yeah. I think it's getting really close. Like there was like 425 out of 500 signatures. So it's like doing really well. And, I think that this is something that really speaks to my heart too, because like my whole thing is like loving yourself. And when I say this, I don't mean just like, you know, all the external stuff. It's like we've been talking about here today is like you got to go in, you got to find peace in yourself and then you can be peace in the world. We all have to, if you have something to share, a healing modality or you have a story like you were saying earlier, something that we spoke about here today could save someone's life. And so I just want to share that to invite the audience to consider what you have to share, and of course, get in there and sign the treaty
Thank you.
and keep promoting peace. Like find the peace within yourself, and yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you and just have you like being in your energy is so nice and comforting and grounding. And how can people connect with you, work with you, all the things? How can they stalk you? Okay, not really
Um,
stalk, but you know what I mean.
the easiest way is just through Instagram, Quantum Alchemist Master. There they can find my page and all the links. Yep.
Okay,
Thank you
amazing.
so
Yeah.
much for having me, for your time, for your energy. So
Mm,
it's a blessing. Thank you so much.
thank you so much. And thank you everyone for tuning in today. Please share this episode with somebody that needs it, that wants it, or whatever else. And we will catch you in the next one.